Yeah, good afternoon, and we are really in the thick of it. Welcome back, Ronnie. You've just been saying this is like a theatre. This is the stage. We're down to the final, the one-table setup, the semi-final clash. Incredible.
Yeah, I mean, two-table setup is still a fantastic venue. When it goes down to a one-table setup, it's the ultimate venue. So, I mean, dreams, this is what dreams are made of, you know, playing at venues like this.
Well, it certainly is, and, you know, the atmosphere is electric. The fans are just beginning to pack up, and you can hear that excitement with them, and obviously with that, you know, the pressure for the two players. Obviously, John Higgins, he's a Crucible legend, well able to deal with the pressures, as we saw last night against Trump. How tough will it be for him to come back straight into the semi-final?
I think there'll be a slight little kind of dip in sort of focus maybe in the early part, but once he gets in it and, you know, he starts to feel Kyron challenging him, he'll know that he's got to put his foot on the pedal. So, but it might not happen. He could come out and go 4 centuries. John's such a class player that you just can't predict what he's going to do.
Well, it's the nature of the beast with him, isn't it? I mean, he's been at this one-table setup 9 times. He's a 4-time champion. Yeah. He's just been incredible here.
Well, one thing you know with John, he's going to, right to the end, he's going to give it everything he's got. He ain't going to peter out. He knows how to play himself. He's a heavyweight of the snooker world. Mark Williams is pretty similar. They're heavyweights of snooker. The other two, maybe middleweights, but they've got to prove they're a heavyweight. So we know what we're going to get with 2. The other 2 is a bit of an unknown.
We know that yourself, Mark Williams, obviously John Higgins with 2 ranking titles in India, Wales. You've been kind of mopping up the ranking wins, but Kyron Wilson, you know, he is a winner, but 2015 Shanghai must seem a little while ago now. Has he got the resolve to win a world title? Yeah, no, I think definitely Kyron will win a world title probably on more than one occasion. Whether it's this year, I'm not so sure. I think John Higgins is looking in good touch. I think Mark Williams is looking in the best touch out of them all. But there's still 5 days to go and a lot of pressure, and it's all about the final day. It's like the last 9 holes of a golf major. A lot can happen, you know? Well, so much can happen considering players have won 36 frames. They still have to win another 35, so we're only halfway there.
We literally are halfway, you know. The first 3 rounds you kind of get through and you're feeding yourself through. So when you come to the semi-finals, this is where it really happens, you know. So, you know, it's so exciting. You know, I think you've got 4 unbelievable players, and I'm just really looking forward to this afternoon's session.
And as a venue, obviously, we talk about the one-table setup, and it is like a different tournament. It's just kicked off here. Yeah. I mean, obviously the 2-table setup, there's not so much room around the table, but obviously they'll come out here today and there'll be so much space, and that might take, you know, the first 4 frames to adjust. But once you get over that, then this is like the ultimate, really. You know, there'll be. You know, it's the best thing any player can ever dream of playing here. How do you feel being here? Obviously, you're delighted to be working for Eurosport, but, you know, not to have your cue and not be getting ready to walk out.
It's great to be working here with Eurosport, and I love doing this, but obviously, you know, it felt kind of weird coming out here, seeing the one table, thinking, you know, because obviously you'd rather be here playing, but, you know, second prize is to sit here and watch some of the best snooker players in the world playing.
Well, you'll be sitting from in the booth as well. You're going to be commentating on a few things
I'll
today.
be here with you and be doing a bit in the practice room, and then obviously doing a bit of commentating, which I like to do as well. So I've got the best seat in the house.
Well, you certainly have, and you've got the best seat in the house as well. Tuning into Eurosport this afternoon, we've got the Warrior against the Wizard. It really is an incredible semi-final clash.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fantastic. I think Kyron is the best young player on the circuit coming through, and he's going to be around for a long time, playing probably the best player, one of the greatest players this game has ever seen, John Higgins, who for me is probably still the best player in the world, you know, along with Mark Selby. So there's so much that can happen here, and I think John's 43 now, Kyron's 26. He's given him a 17-year head start, but I think that makes it a pretty even match in many ways, you know.
And will John feel like this could be his last opportunity to maybe get to a final, or is there still a few more years left in the old dog yet, shall we say?
John, about 6-7 years ago, John thought he wasn't good enough to be a top 16 player. He was probably 1 or 2 balls away from winning it last year. He's in the semi-finals this year. For me, he's the most complete snooker player I've ever seen. He looks comfortable with his game. He's still, for me, he's one of the only players I would pay to watch, because he is a purist snooker player. He's got everything.
Well, you're being paid to watch today, so can't wait to hear your thoughts later. More from us soon, but as you can see, the fans are in and we are ready to roll.
Thank you, Rachel, and I've seen the receipts. He's getting paid a hell of a lot more than any of us. Happy days, enjoy it. Well done, guys.
Speak for yourself.
I am Colin, and good evening, everyone. We are looking forward to the second semi-final, but we've already enjoyed the first session of the first semi-final. It was nip and tuck, and Ronnie, you're back. You've had a little spell in the commentary box. Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, I did. I really enjoyed it. I think John kind of struggled a little bit towards the end. I think he got a bit tired, but, you know, there's other than playing, that's a good seat to have in that commentary box.
Well, it certainly is, and we're listening to you commentate on the match, and obviously picking out a couple of the shots. I mean, Kyron, you said he played quite aggressive, and I guess he certainly, his confidence was growing as the match was developing.
Well, Kyron's an aggressive player, and to win tournaments these days, you do need to be aggressive. But you know, with someone like John Higgins, it's okay being aggressive, but you got to get him. If you start missing and leaving John in, then you know you're going to be in trouble. You're going to be doing a lot of sitting in your seat, and the match can very quickly slip away from you. So it's a fine line, and you know, I know how good John is. I'm not sure Kyron does. He probably hasn't played him as much as I have. But you know, when you're watching him and playing him, it's a very different ball game. So you know, it's been a good first session.
Yeah, and obviously they met last year, but things didn't go as well as they could have for Kyron because of his tip trouble and everything else. So that was a different story, though. It wasn't on the one-table setup. So for bearing that in mind, you know, he has actually come out of that session quite well.
Yeah, Kyron couldn't win that match last year because obviously a new tip midway through a game, the throw of the ball and everything. It was just so that match won't mean nothing. Kyron's ready, everything's in place. He's done, you know, as well as he can do to get to the semis. The preparation's good, and he'll feel like, you know, this is as good as, you know, he's got a great chance to make the final, but it's a tough match for him, you know. It's
very tough, and John, we've seen throughout, you know, how incredible he is when he has to be.
Yeah, I think if John wouldn't have had such a heavy match last night, I think it would have been 6-2 this afternoon. I think he'd be happy with 5-3 because towards the end of the session, from frame 5 onwards, he looks like, you know, he's short on his safety shots, and I don't think it was a technique thing. I just think it was just a mind thing from the night before where he played Judge. You know, he must have had a hangover today after that match. So I think he'll be over the moon to be 5-3. Tomorrow will be a different day. I think a good night's sleep, a good meal, and he'll feel refreshed.
Yeah.
He just needs a little charge up.
Well, he'll be fully charged, and we'll be looking forward to that session tomorrow. But tonight, we've got Mark Williams and Barry Hawkins. They have not played each other for a very long time. Mark, obviously, with the best in terms of the head-to-head, but it's been a long time since they've met. Yeah, I think Mark's obviously struggled for like 4 or 5 years. Hawkins has had some good results over the Crucible for the last 4 or 5 years, been one of the most consistent players, but I think Mark Williams has probably been the most consistent player of the season, having, you know, he's won 2 tournaments, 2 ranking events, and I think out of every 10 matches he's played this year, he's probably played 9 good ones. And this type of tournament requires consistency. So I would probably make Mark Williams the favourite to win this tournament at the moment, but he's got a tough competitor in Barry Hawkins. If Barry Hawkins plays well, it'll be a tough match. He has said in the past that he's crumbled when it turns to the one-table setup. You beat him in 2013.
Yeah.
Mark will have an unbelievable chance to add to another title. He's been just a revelation this season, incredible.
Yeah, like I say, I think he's been the most consistent player all season. You know, every time you watch him, you know, even when he's lost matches, he's played really well. And that's, you don't mind losing if you're playing well, because you think, you know what, the next tournament's going to come around for me. I think in this tournament, that's a great mindset to have, because if you have a dodgy session, you're always confident that the next session is going to be good.
Well, he's unflappable, isn't he?
Yeah, well, listen, everyone's flappable. You know, everyone feels pressure. Some people disguise it a bit better than others, and Mark is quite good at that.
Right.
But he feels pressure just like everybody else, and if you didn't feel pressure in this type of venue, then, you know, we'd probably be saying you're not a human being.
And you're in the wrong game as well. We'll look forward to you back in the commentary box a little bit earlier on. Of course, we'll be catching up with you at the mid-session interval. We cannot wait. The fans are streaming in here. Looking forward to this semi-final getting underway. Back to you, Colin.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Rachel and I have the easiest job in television sports, working with you four. Well, I'm not just saying that. What an absolute dream team. And the Mark Williams I'm going to ask you to talk about is not the Mark Williams that won in 2000 and 2003. It's not the Mark Williams that nearly quit snooker forever last year. It's a new man. It's the Mark Williams of 2018.
Yeah, as a totally new player. I mean, as you say, he was going to hang his cue up for good, he was saying last year. Went and seen Steve Feeney. Obviously, something seemed to work there, but I think a lot of it is down to him putting a lot more hours in as well. And for me, I think he scores a lot heavier now than what he did do when he was at his peak many years ago, and is a threat for every tournament he plays in.
I think of all the quarter-final wins, we focused on John Higgins, that final frame decider against Judd Trump.